Here over at SubScribe. Thanks to everyone who signed up at Odyssey. I looked over and I saw like 18 new members. That's freaking amazing. So here's the thing with a lot of things people in Hollywood say. They just talk and there's no connection to their brain because there's nobody around them who goes, oh, hey, wait a minute. Here's like in this case, she goes, she doesn't think the socio-political climate in America has grown generally unfavorable towards Mexican individuals. Nobody around her just go, so like in the past, was it, you're implying it was more favorable in the past, so there are, like 10 years ago, maybe this is, I guess, a reference to Trump, maybe. Before that, were there a whole slew of movies that was Latin American based or had a lot of actors from there? I don't think there were. I think it was always kind of like this. So it's weird when they phrase things like this. Like, this is about Trump, isn't it? How well did that Blue Beetle movie? I saw about 5 minutes of that, and that was 5 minutes too much. So Hollywood, Jenny Ortega, she actually says a couple interesting things here. And one, I wish it was true, where she says something like Hollywood is too politically correct, but I'm not sure if she meant what she said. So she says that Hollywood is not, she does have a great facial expression for that character, though. Hollywood isn't using Latin actors, which is true, actually, and that we need more free speech without getting people's lives destroyed. I guess that's a reference to cancel culture, which, a few people in Hollywood have spoke out against, which is kind of interesting to see. And Hollywood is too politically correct, but without knowing more about her, I don't know if she actually believes that. And when they say this, there's usually a long list of buts that translate to they want to criticize you, but don't hold a mirror up to them because suddenly it's not acceptable. There's a whole list of some things, or it's the kid at the punk rock show, and he had a jeans jacket, and it had a punk rock is not, and it has like 24 things of what you can't be to go listen to 3-chord punk rock music. It's someone took a picture of it because it's just so absolutely insane. You try to show this to somebody from the 60s or 70s, and they're like, what is going on? What happened to these? This is all just a corporate commercial zone punk. Anyway, so Latin's lacking in movies, and I've noticed this also. I guess it's kind of personal to me because I identify as a Latina woman of color myself because I went to the Caribbean a few times. So who's overrepresented in Hollywood? Blacks, Jews, Asians, maybe Asians if you consider demographics, because there's not that many East Asians. But underrepresented would be European Americans and Latins. And I think Hollywood likes blacks because visually they're clearly different. So in the mind of Hollywood, that twisted lizard brain, that is their diversity. Even if it's an overrepresentation of one group, is actually the definition, the opposite of diversity. And somebody was talking about anime today, and there's some anime fans are getting a little peeved because when they diversify anime, that means they're taking out Asian characters and swapping them specifically for black characters. So this is a case of the battle of the SJWs, which is just sit back and watch them destroy themselves. So what is America's Latin population? It's like a quarter to a third, depending on how you measure it, because you have people who are ethnically German, Spanish, or Portuguese from Latin America who consider themselves Latin or Hispanic or whatever for the census. It's kind of a pretty broad spectrum. What I mean is like from pure European to Mezito or whatever it's called. And this actor here, ethnically, is almost pure European, but still she gets to check the box. And I saw a little bit of this show. It's there's really nothing that's worth watching on TV or movies. Movies, every once in a while, you're going to find something. Like every couple of years, there'll be a movie that's worth watching. But that's really how bad things are. And if you have evidence to the contrary, let me know in the comments. So same for the Star Wars guy who checks a box, who's in Wonder Woman, Pedro Pascal. I think he's from like Argentina or something, and he's probably 90% Hugo Boss, but Hollywood can use him to check the diversity box. The other thing is, while Latin is the fastest growing demographic and will be the majority in a decade, they want to see movies in Spanish, in the Spanish language. And in a few years, you'll probably see cities that start to switch over entire theaters to just Spanish language versions, because that'll be a big enough market to sell directly to. But the problem with that is that you're excluding another big chunk of the country. And the thing with Latin movies and TV, if you ever watch, what is it, Telenova, the actors they use are Latin America is not as politically correct as the SJWs would wish. They call it colorism, which is another case of the Marxists eating their own tail. What's it called? Intersectionality or something. Sexuality. They take globalism, and they have to up themselves every couple years to keep getting attention. I can't imagine what is next for kids who want to get attention, because right now they went from being gay, or from being like pan or something, to actually thinking of the other sex. So I mean, like, how do you top that? I can't imagine what nightmares you're going to live through. So the problem is it's just a personal preference in Latin movies and TV, is the actors are very fair versions of Latins. They look basically European. That's what I'm trying to say. And the chicks who do those Latin girls who do the weather, wow, holy cow, they just much more comfortable with their bodies than America. You look at American TV and it's just 200-pound women. It's CNN or whatever. Anyway, that pisses off the SJW. Beautiful things. Like, there is a theory that beautiful people, beautiful things, the right-hand path really upsets SJWs. So the Asians do the same thing with manga and anime. It's all obviously all white, of the whitest characters. They're not supposed to be of European descent. They're just fantasy characters, because sometimes they have like purple eyes, and you get the idea. So you start getting, if you start getting more Latin actors in movies, visually, it's not going to look too different. They'll just probably fire the blacks and replace them with blacks with Spanish names. They'll just call them Afro-Cuban or something, Afro-Latin, I don't know. But the thing is, diversity isn't selling right now. So the whole thing is sort of deck chairs on the Titanic. If the just the SJWs watching the channel keep reporting all those community posts, that's why there's so many missing. If the future Hollywood is black and Mexican, then you don't have a Hollywood, because that just doesn't sell. And don't be mad at the person who's saying, the people are more mad at the person who's telling you the bridge is out than the fact that, well, yeah, but the bridge is out, and if you continue on the way, you're just going to go off in the gully. The thing with Hollywood is, don't give them the benefit of the doubt when you're doing any analysis of them. Their reasoning isn't like yours. It's sick and twisted because they're lizard people. You can assume something degenerate, and you're going to start to understand them. Hollywood's motive isn't money, which I know sounds really tinfoil hat to people who don't follow Hollywood, but I mean, listen to how reasonable I sound. It's a rabbit hole that is actually pretty easy to explain, but people don't understand it because it's so alien. And alien's actually a really good term when you're talking about Hollywood. Their motive is ideology. You can look at the past 10 years of woke movie failures to prove it to yourself. What's the name of her movie? Oh, she's doing the Beetlejuice, but who was that? Winona Ryder was. I didn't know she was 15. She did a great job. And Beetlejuice came out. I was gonna say, you can't make a movie like Beetlejuice today. I don't think there's anything politically incorrect in it. Oh wait, there was something, because weren't they getting married or something? The thing is, I don't think she was supposed to be 15 in the TV show. Or in the movie. I don't. The thing is, they're going to make this, and it's going to suck. It's going to be, somehow they'll find a way to make it whatever. The thing is, their motive is ideology. You can look at the past 10 years of woke movie failures. It's not just me saying this. There's no shortage of these, of girl power led movies, diverse power led movies, and people just get so triggered when you say this, and it's like it doesn't get people. It doesn't get people in seats. The last one was the Marvel the Marvels, and then Madam Web or something. I think those were kind of some of the last big failures. And it doesn't make sense to you that you think, oh, I thought it was just a business, like an artistic business, sure, but it's actually, like you're saying, it's a political, an arm of a political branch of a movement, arm of a political movement. It's like one of the weapons of this globalist movement. And it's like, it doesn't make sense, because if you're making a movie, you're thinking of an organic story in your head, the artistic side of it, and then there's the financing of it. And as you make more movies, it becomes less art and more finance until it can just become formulaic. You're not thinking of a woke cast that fits a diversity checklist. You're thinking of the cast that fits the story. And most of the time, they're going to look like you, the person, what do they say? Write what you know. It's like, write your own experiences. And it runs through the Hollywood filter. And they go, oh, no, we're going to swap out these characters. Like, but now you're getting away from the organic story. It's not going to resonate with people because it's going to start to feel artificial. Clerks is a good example. That was a hit back in the 90s, and it felt authentic because it seemed to come out of Smith's experience. But to Hollywood, a movie like that just wouldn't be made today. The only way to do it would be to self-finance it like he did back then. Back then it was like 50 grand. So today it would be like under $250,000 to self-finance a movie. But if he did, I don't think it would get picked up. But he had to show that to Harvey Weinstein, who liked it and decided to distribute it with Miramax, and it was a pretty decent hit. But something like that wouldn't get picked up by a Miramax today, or wouldn't even go on streaming without some adjustments, because they look at it and go, hey, this is great, we love it, and then they go, here are some thoughts about injecting a little diversity for update it for a modern audience. And that's just the sound of garbage hitting the fan. So they'd run it through the diversity filter, and it would be cancer. It wouldn't feel right because it's propaganda. That's kind of the definition of, if you have a Bechdel test, or screen time for women, or non-Euros, or different sexualities of people. It's like you realize you're literally coming up with a Pravda, a Bolshevik list of propaganda. That's by definition propaganda. You're not making movies. See, here's the thing. They're not making movies for the artistic side of movies, which would be lower and lower budget. But they're not even making movies for the financial side of movies. Because if you did, you'd make movies look like the 80s when they were connecting with the audience. This kind of stuff it's the Sherlock Holmes quote, where he goes, once you've excluded everything else, you really got to look very seriously at the evidence that you're left with. So stuff doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel authentic because people's experience don't look like Hollywood. So modern stuff just feels off, and everything feels very shallow. When the movie is over, it's over and forgotten. It doesn't resonate with the audience. It's the difference between Disney Star Wars at 2015 and the original people. And the original Star Wars was obviously night and day. It's funny, you look back at A New Hope, I think, and it was adjusted for inflation. It's like one of the biggest movies of all time. And with Clerks, people still remember that. If you're of a certain, Generation X, you probably still remember that 37 Dicks line. Or there's people in my generation who can recite, most of Clerks, because it was such a great movie for the budget. And people forgot that he made a sequel, which was, a decent film for what it was, but it was more diverse, and it was it was good, but it didn't have the same authenticity that the original. Anyway, this chick's coming out with, I already forgot the name of the Winona Ryder movie, and Michael Keaton, son of a bitch, Beetlejuice. And the odds are, Michael Keaton is solid. He was in The Flash with Ezra Miller, who's out of his freaking mind on marching powder. But, The Flash was it like 3 hours long or something? So the only part of The Flash that was really worth watching was the Michael Keaton bit as Batman, because it kind of took you back to that 89 Batman, which, God, what a lot of fun that was. Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton in 89 Batman. What a vibe that was. And the soundtrack by Prince. I think I'm one of the few who liked the soundtrack. I thought it was solid. Anyway, so the this new version of it is just going to be an atrocity, and I'm kind of wondering, like she mentions in this article people making, like the Latin crowd making movies for themselves. And, you know, if you extrapolate from that, you go, okay, well then you're talking about like race-based studios. You have Latins, Asians, blacks, Euros, so people can make movies for their tribe, which I, you know, absolutely totally support. And with low budget streaming, it's possible because you're not making it. You're not trying to market to the whole country. You're trying to market just to a percentage of the country. So you're not going to put $300 million in a movie, but you can put it on a streaming show, and that'd probably work pretty well. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next video.